There's a moment, if you're fortunate enough to reach it, when you look around the room, check your phone, look at the people you call family or friends, and understand something with total clarity. No one is coming. No one is going to fund your vision. No one is going to push you on the days you want to quit. If you fall, no one is standing close enough to catch you. For most people, this realization is where things break. It reads as abandonment. It reads as proof they were never good enough to earn real support. But for a smaller number, the ones who eventually build something that actually lasts, this exact moment isn't a wound, it's a beginning. Quick disclaimer before we start. This is an educational breakdown of historical philosophy and psychology, not professional advice. Machiavelli understood something most people spend their whole lives avoiding: the idea that you need a team, a cheering section, a safety net before you're allowed to start. That idea is one of the most effective ways a person ever talks themselves out of their own life. History wasn't built by committees waiting for consensus. It was built by individuals who stopped waiting for permission. We're going to walk through exactly how to build something real with no support at all, and why the absence of a safety net isn't the disadvantage you've been told it is. Fair warning, this isn't comfortable. Stay to the end, because the hardest part of this isn't the strategy. It's what happens when the people who never helped you come back once you've already won. Let's begin. Part 1. The lie you were trained to believe. From early on, you were quietly conditioned toward dependence. Group projects taught you that success is shared by default. Institutions taught you that belonging comes before achievement. Career advice taught you the phrase, "Everyone repeats without examining it." It's not what you know, it's who you know. Nobody questions that line. Everybody nods along to it. It's mostly poison. Here's why. The moment your plan for success depends on someone else's help, you've quietly admitted you're powerless without them. And you've handed a piece of your future to someone who will always, eventually, act according to their own interest, not yours. Machiavelli wrote something close to this directly. A wise ruler builds his strength on what's within his own control, not on what depends on someone else's goodwill. Support, examined honestly, often functions like debt. Help you accept comes with an implicit balance owed. Investment made in you usually comes with a piece of you attached to it. Emotional support carries a quieter cost: the power to withdraw itself the moment it's inconvenient to keep giving. What looks like a safety net is frequently also a web, holding you in place as much as catching you. The reason you haven't built what you're capable of yet often has nothing to do with a lack of support. It's that you're still scanning the horizon for it, burning real energy looking for a rescuer, softening your actual vision to make it palatable to people who are never going to understand it fully, waiting for applause before you've even finished the work. Part 2. The 0 point. At some point, you'll hit what's worth naming directly: the 0 point. It's the moment you look at your resources, your contacts, your support system, and see nothing but your own reflection staring back. Most people panic here. Don't. Zero support means zero masters. If nobody lifted you up, nobody can meaningfully claim credit or pull you back down either. What you build entirely alone, you own entirely. No equity split, no favor owed, no compromise required to keep a benefactor comfortable. Machiavelli's observation about fear and love applies to this exact situation, reframed. Craving support is, underneath it, craving to be loved, wanting people to validate the idea, wanting family to be proud, wanting a visible cheering section. That craving comes from a place of emotional need, and emotional need repels the exact respect you're actually trying to earn. Desperation is legible to other people whether you intend it or not, and it rarely inspires confidence. Building with zero support requires switching fuel sources entirely, from the fuel of encouragement to the fuel of defiance. Look directly at the people who doubted you, who went quiet, who never checked in, and instead of grief, generate something colder and more useful. They don't believe. Fine, that means there's more room to move without interference. They won't help. Fine, that means there's nothing to split later. Picture a commander who turns around mid-battle and finds his forces have scattered. He doesn't sit down and mourn the loyalty he expected. He assesses the terrain in front of him and adapts. A single, disciplined operator, moving with precision, is often harder to stop than a large, slow, coordinated force. Isolation forces exactly that kind of asymmetry. No committee to consult means no delay waiting for consensus. You can redirect an entire plan in an hour because there's no board to convince first. Part 3. Become untraceable until you're finished. Here's the practical mechanism for actually functioning inside this isolation without burning out. Most ambitious plans die quietly, in conversation, long before they're ever tested. Someone forms an idea, immediately shares it with a friend, and the friend responds with a flicker of doubt. That sounds difficult. Are you sure about this? And something breaks. Worse, the act of describing the goal out loud delivers a small hit of satisfaction on its own, tricking the brain into registering partial completion before any real work has happened. The counter to this is a kind of enforced silence around unfinished ambition. Don't announce it. Don't preview it. Don't post the teaser. Let the goal stay entirely internal until there's something real to show for it. Held silently, ambition behaves like pressure building inside a sealed container. It doesn't leak out through conversation, so it has nowhere to go except into motion. That pressure is exactly what gets someone working at 2 in the morning while everyone comfortable and supported is asleep. This period of isolation also grants something rare, total immersion, without the social obligations that usually fragment focus. No events to attend out of guilt. No performance required to keep appearances up. The parts of you that exist purely to obsess over the craft get full, uninterrupted access, and that obsession, often dismissed casually as unhealthy, is frequently the actual prerequisite for becoming genuinely excellent at something. Competence loud enough to be undeniable makes the original question of support almost irrelevant, because people are drawn toward results in a way they were never drawn toward a pitch. Part 4. Grieve what you expected, then let it go. This part rarely gets discussed honestly, because it complicates the motivational version of this message. There's real grief involved in this path, mourning a version of your life you assumed you'd have, a support system that understood you, parents who fully grasped the vision, friends who grew alongside the ambition instead of quietly falling behind it. Often, none of that materializes the way it was imagined, and pretending otherwise doesn't make the disappointment smaller. This grief is not weakness. It's the honest cost of choosing a path most of the people around you were never going to choose with you. There will be nights spent staring at the ceiling, quietly wondering if the doubters were right all along. That's not a sign you've made a mistake. It's closer to a rite of passage, the specific discomfort of having left a familiar structure without yet reaching whatever comes after it. Once you've seen clearly that a lot of what passes for mutual support is actually mutual comfort seeking, you can't fully unsee it. The only way through is forward, deliberately setting aside the version of yourself that needed external permission to begin, so a steadier, self-directed version can take its place. Part 5. Become your own entire infrastructure. With no external structure to lean on, you have to build the internal version yourself, deliberately, almost architecturally. This means becoming, in a real sense, your own source of discipline, your own source of reassurance, your own accountability. You look in the mirror and provide the direction you didn't receive elsewhere. You track your own resources and become the provider you were hoping someone else would be. You process your own setbacks instead of waiting for someone else to talk you through them. This requires a kind of internal split, one part of you that's tired, reactive and looking for comfort, and a steadier part whose job is to keep moving anyway. Over time, with consistent use, the steadier part becomes the dominant voice. Machiavelli's description of a ruler needing a flexible, adaptable disposition applies here in a very literal, personal sense. The discipline to be genuinely hard on yourself in the short term, specifically so you can be at peace with yourself in the long term. There's an unexpected advantage buried in the isolation itself. With no one to catch you if you slip, the feedback loop for laziness becomes immediate and unavoidable. Skip a day, and there's no external nudge waiting to correct course. That immediacy, uncomfortable as it is, tends to build real adaptability far faster than a cushioned environment ever could. Part 6. Rewrite the story you tell yourself. Most people default to a story shaped entirely by circumstance. I couldn't start because I didn't have funding. I couldn't follow through because I didn't have the right people around me. It's a comfortable story. It's also a trap because it locates the entire cause of the outcome outside your control. The more useful story reframes the same facts as fuel rather than excuse. Every unanswered message, every quiet dismissal, every moment of being underestimated becomes raw material instead of evidence of failure. Elite performers across very different fields have used a version of this deliberately, manufacturing motivation out of perceived slights, real or exaggerated, because that specific kind of focused frustration tends to produce more consistent output than encouragement ever does. Anger, used this way, is a cleaner fuel than sadness. Sadness tends to slow a person down, make the body heavy, make rest feel more appealing than motion. A focused, controlled frustration does the opposite. It sharpens attention and makes movement feel necessary rather than optional. Machiavelli's observation that people in general are simple enough to be led by their immediate comforts applies here too. Most of the people who didn't show up for you weren't acting out of malice. They were simply following the path of least resistance, the same one most people default to. You're not obligated to translate your ambition into language they're comfortable with. Build the result large enough that it explains itself. For Part 7, integrate the darker fuel. There's a deeper layer worth naming honestly, because most versions of this advice avoid it. When support is present, people typically run on lighter fuel, encouragement, shared excitement, collaboration. Operating without it requires learning to run on something colder. What Jung described as the shadow, and what Machiavelli approached from an entirely different angle through the combined image of the lion and the fox, both point toward the same uncomfortable truth. The parts of yourself capable of ambition, aggression, and real pride are usually the same parts society trained you to suppress and label as unattractive. Suppressing that capacity doesn't make someone kinder. It usually just makes them quietly harmless, and harmlessness rarely builds anything of consequence. Building something real from nothing tends to require a controlled amount of exactly what's been suppressed. The willingness to want more than what's currently being offered, the drive to prove something to people who dismissed the possibility, a form of pride sturdy enough to survive being unsupported for a long stretch of time. None of this requires becoming cruel to the people around you. It requires stopping the internal apology for wanting real things. Inspiration, on its own, is unreliable. It tends to disappear exactly when things get difficult. Spite and pride, uncomfortable as they are to admit relying on, tend to be far more durable fuel sources during the hardest stretches, precisely because they don't require anyone else's presence to keep burning. Part 8. Build the protocol, not the to-do list. Left entirely unstructured, most people don't rise to the occasion of total freedom. They drift. Sleep stretches later. Focus fragments. Motivation, without external accountability, tends to evaporate within days. The fix isn't a wish list of tasks. It's a small, non-negotiable structure, self-imposed and consistently enforced. A defined first battle each morning against the pull toward comfort, won deliberately before anything else happens. A protected block of real, undistracted focus, treated as sacred rather than optional. Careful attention to what's allowed into your mind daily, because with no external structure left, your own thinking becomes the primary asset worth protecting, and feeding it constant noise degrades it the same way poor input degrades any system. And an honest nightly accounting, not self-punishment, just a clear look at whether the day produced real movement or simply the appearance of busyness. This structure isn't about rigidity for its own sake. It's what replaces the external scaffolding a job, a team, or a support system would normally provide. Build the internal version deliberately, or the absence of external structure will eventually cost you the momentum you're trying to protect. Part 9. Skip the room, build the magnet. Conventional advice says network constantly, attend events, collect contacts, put yourself in rooms with people who might help later. Here's the uncomfortable counterpoint. Networking from a position of nothing to offer usually reads to the people in that room as exactly what it is. Machiavelli's advice to make oneself genuinely necessary applies directly here. The more effective long-term move is building something so specifically valuable that attention arrives without being chased, becoming, in a given niche, someone people actively seek out because the work speaks clearly for itself. Every hour spent performing sociability in a room full of strangers is an hour not spent building the actual proof of skill that would make that room seek you out later, on its own. This doesn't mean permanent isolation from any outside connection. It means sequencing correctly, building undeniable proof first, and letting genuine relationships form later, from a position of actual leverage rather than need. Part 10. When they come back. If this path is followed with any real consistency, something predictable eventually happens. Results start showing, and the same people who were unavailable during the difficult stretch tend to reappear, warmer now, suddenly proud, suddenly certain they always believed in the outcome. This is, in its own way, the hardest test of the entire process. The instinct is to let them back in fully, to accept the retroactive support as validation that the isolation is finally, officially over. Resist that instinct, at least partially. Their return doesn't need to be met with resentment or a dramatic confrontation. It can be met with calm, consistent distance, treated with the same measured indifference they offered during the harder stretch. Their renewed warmth is frequently tied to visible success rather than to who you actually were the whole time. And that's simply how a lot of human attention works, not a personal betrayal worth dwelling on. What gets built during genuine isolation belongs entirely to the person who built it. The circle worth keeping close afterward is a small one. The people who were actually present for the difficult stretch, not the ones who arrived once the outcome was already secure. This isn't a permanent state of isolation for its own sake. It's a phase, one that, done deliberately, produces something durable enough to eventually support other people from a position of genuine strength rather than need. Machiavelli never framed self-reliance as coldness for its own sake. He framed it as the only foundation solid enough to actually hold weight, because anything built on someone else's continued goodwill can be withdrawn the moment that goodwill changes. If you're in the middle of this stretch right now, genuinely unsupported, building quietly, wondering if it's working, tell me in the comments. This is exactly the audience this video was built for. And if you want the next layer of this, subscribe, because what comes after zero support is its own separate challenge, and we're covering it next. I'll see you in the next one.